Welcome back with another video, and again I bought some vinyl records, 3 records. Two of these I've already had in different versions, but I was never happy with the vinyl versions that I had of those. One record I wanted to buy for a long time was a Tabua de Esmeralda by Jorge, which according to my the top 10 best albums of all time video is one of my 10 favorite albums of all time. I only had this copy of it up until a couple of days ago. This is the international, or it's just the French version, which became like the default European or outside of Brazil version of this album, called Brother. So it's exactly the same album as Tabua de Esmeralda, but it's just called differently, and the cover is this cover. But I always wanted to have the original Brazilian cover and the original Brazilian version, and it was always so difficult to get one in a decent condition for a decent price. So finally I found it, like a holy grail. This is the original cover artwork of a Tabua de Esmeralda, and it's the original title. And it cost me around 70 euro, which is a lot for a vinyl album, plus shipping. I ordered it through Discogs, so I ended up with a price in total of like 90 or 100 euros, so it's very expensive, but you know, I never really found it less expensive in a good condition. This is no original pressing. This is not it's not really a Brazilian original pressing. This is a repress from a couple of years ago, I think 2017, 2018. So it's not like it's not really the holy grail. The holy grail would be to have the original Brazilian version from the mid-70s in a good condition, of course. You know, in very bad conditions you can get these probably very easily for a good price, but you know, when I want to have something like this, I want to have it in a decent condition, of course. I want this to be my default way of listening to that album, and this finally is that. So it's like I said, a reissue. It's but it's pretty cool. I don't know from which country the reissue is. I don't think it's from Brazil, but I'm not sure about this. So a classic album from 1974, and in my opinion, by far Jorge's best album, but he did many great records. The other one where I improved something I already had in my collection is, of course, by my favorite group. Of course, I had with the Beatles. This was the copy that I had, which is a German copy, and I was never satisfied with it. You know, it's not sounding very good, and even the alterations to the cover artwork they made, you know, with the screen color here, I never really liked it. I was never really happy with the Beatles vinyl copy. So finally I found a repress from Czechoslovakia from the late 80s, and it's in very good condition, and it sounds great. Looks great, of course, finally, and it sounds a lot like the 1987 CD version, which up until now was my default go-to with the Beatles version, but now finally I have a vinyl I can, you know, enjoy with the Beatles. And the third record I bought is probably the most interesting of this purchase. It's the Beatles, the Decca tapes, bootleg, of course. I never had a Decca tapes bootleg by the Beatles. Of course, on Anthology 1 there's a couple of tracks from this famous audition from January 1st, 1962, with Pete Best still on the drums. But you know, I was so underwhelmed by the whole Anthology 1 CD, not the documentary, which was, of course, is awesome, and I love the Anthology 2 CD, for example, but Anthology 1, all in all, I think Beatles fans expected a bit, or maybe even a lot more from, you know, the outtakes that they chose and how the whole thing was compiled. So I was always underwhelmed also by the selections they took from the Decca Audition from Anthology. But now I've got the complete, or as complete as you can get, Decca Audition by the Beatles, and I'm really impressed by it now in the context of the whole thing. You know, not just 4 or 5 tracks like Anthology 1, but how many songs are there? It's 15 tracks, and it's really great quality. And so, you know, why didn't Decca sign those? I know there's this famous quote by Dick Rowe who said something like, guitar bands are on their way out. We don't believe that guitar music has a future, which is of course hilarious in hindsight. But you know, even if you thought that the Beatles played so well on this audition, and to me it's almost like a version 0.0 of Please Please Me. You know, this is kind of like now for me the debut album by the Beatles. You know, it sounds a lot like Please Please Me, which was also kind of live in the studio with not many overdubs. And this is almost exactly 1 year before the Please Please Me album was recorded, also in like 1 or 2 days. Most of it in 1 day, in February '63. But you know, it's very comparable in its sound and track selection to Please Please Me. So it's really, you know, almost like a forsaken debut album by the Beatles, and I really enjoy this. Great versions of cool songs, and also some Lennon-McCartney originals that you don't get on any official Beatle album, like Do You Must Do, for example, or Hello Little Girl, songs that then later would give away to other acts. So this is really a great, unexpectedly great record find. And then I said in my previous record buying video that I haven't yet listened to Making Movies by Dire Straits, which I talked about last time when I bought this. So now I've listened to it, and yeah, I really like it. I don't like it as much as Brothers in Arms, which I already had for many years now. But it's a nice album. Tunnel of Love and Romeo and Juliet were the 2 tracks that I was already familiar with. Both sound very Bruce Springsteen-like, which is interesting because there's also later Bruce Springsteen would also have an album and a song called Tunnel of Love, but a different song. But also the other tracks like Espresso Rock is what it's called. Espresso Rock is a great song. Yeah, lots of good songs. Skate Away, what else? Espresso Love. Espresso Love is the title of the song. Hand in Hand, so really good songs on this album. Bit like the second album by Bruce Springsteen, the E Street Shuffle album. Not as good, I would say, as that. I prefer the Springsteen album. But yeah, it's a nice album, and I will never be really a big Dire Straits fan, but I respect them more now. And this album also, you know, I always thought that the band, the War on Drugs, you know, the current alternative band War on Drugs, must have been very influenced by Dire Straits, but I guess especially by this album, much more than by Brothers in Arms, for example. I think this is almost, it's red, but it's almost a blueprint to what the War on Drugs would do 30 years later. So those were my newest records purchases. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, goodbye.